Today, I'm diving into the finances of a 39-year-old family man, Mark from Quebec, who's earning a six-figure salary in law enforcement, but is living paycheck to paycheck. Welcome to the Budget Breakdown series, where I help my subscribers by reviewing their finances, creating tailored budgets, and offering clear steps to achieve their financial goals. If you want to see how we go from financial confusion to having a clear plan and prioritize money goals, keep on watching. Mark's financial picture. Let me paint a picture of Mark's current financial situation. Mark is a sole income earner in a family of four, including his wife and two young kids. His financial goals are to build savings, prepare for retirement, and set up education funds for his children. However, he currently has no emergency fund, no retirement savings, and barely any college fund for his kids. Additionally, he has total debt of $37,000 at around 10% interest, costing him well over $1,000 per month. On the positive side, Mark is a high income earner making six figures gross. He also owns two family vehicles outright and is a homeowner. Mark is determined to get his finances in order to secure a stable future for his family and retire comfortably. In today's video, we will be reviewing Mark's budget to understand his spending habits, creating a master budget and calculating a realistic savings rate, as well as establishing smart money goals, eliminating bad money habits, and setting a clear path to financial stability. So let's get right into it. Before we start, I want to address what's the point of budgeting in the first place. The purpose of budgeting is to understand your spending habits and make better financial decisions. Without a budget, it's like trying to lose weight without knowing your starting weight. For example, if you started at 200 pounds and dropped to 190 pounds, you can track your progress and confirm that you're on the right path. This indicates that your healthy habits, such as daily exercise, nutritional meals, and portion control, are outweighing bad habits like choosing Netflix over a workout, late night snacking, and binge eating. Now compare this to trying to lose weight without knowing your starting weight. It's like shooting in the dark. You might reward yourself with a tub of ice cream after a 20-minute workout, not realizing that the bad habit is still outweighing the good. Without measuring progress from a starting point, you can't tell what's working. Similarly, budgeting helps you identify your starting point so you can adopt better money habits like cutting back on unnecessary spending and working extra hours to help accelerate your savings. This way, you can measure your progress towards your financial goals. Without this insight, bad habits like ordering Uber Eats 10 times a month can easily outweigh good ones like meal prepping and taking extra shifts. By summarizing your spending in a budget, you'll be shocked at how much you are spending on things that don't matter to you or that you have completely forgotten about. With this new information, you can now make changes that transform your finances. So back to Mark's budget and spending habits. I reviewed all of Mark's bank accounts and credit card statements for May and June and organized them in this budgeting template. If you're curious about how this template works, you could check out the video linked over here about how this template works. For the month of May, Mark's income is around $10,300, which is great. However, his expenses were $12,400. And based on my discussion with Mark, the reason that he is over budget is because he was hosting a wine tasting event where he was entertaining his friends and family. And the reason for this event was because he was doing for his sister who had recently lost her job and wanted to provide her with an opportunity to cater the event in hopes of helping her boost her catering business. All in all, this costed Mark $6,000, which included expenses like food and drinks and home decor, as well as helping his sister with personal expenses. Did Mark have savings or did he splurge too much? For this month, Mark is in a deficit of $2,100. So he overspent what he earned in the month. I just want to quickly go over the type of expenses that Mark was having. As you can see, there's a lot of discretionary spending related to Amazon. It's all Amazon here, and it's hard to know what they're related to because Amazon has more generic descriptions like this. It just says Amazon, but you can see the sheer amount of purchases he's making on Amazon. And with a lot of these purchases, he was saying it was for his wine tasting entertaining party to help out his sister. And with that alone, his Amazon shopping was about $1,000
$1,500. And he also has miscellaneous shopping of $657 that we can't quite pinpoint, home improvement of $2,200. So a lot of discretionary payments there. All in all, his expenses were about $12,400.
Now moving on to the month of June, Mark's income is about $9,300 and his expenses was a whopping $19,000. And the reason for being over budget this particular month was because he had a family emergency which required Mark, his wife, and 2 kids to fly to Asia last minute. And this emergency trip for the month of June alone costed him $11,000 all in with flights and miscellaneous spending. For the month of June, Mark had a deficit of $10,000.
For the month of June, I just wanted to quickly go over his expenses. As you can see, this is a month that he was going on that family trip, that emergency trip overseas. And with that came a lot of expenses being spent overseas. So a lot of these are related to Asia expenses, all travel. He's also made withdrawals of $1,000 from his credit card, which is not the smartest decision, but he was saying he was in time pinch when making that trip. So his total cost for travel for the month of June was about $11,300. So I guess my question there is, was there an opportunity to better plan for emergencies in the future? And before making an emergency trip, was there any time, even 30 minutes, where you're able to communicate what the budget is, what's the plan is with your partner so that you can better structure your spending and not go there blindsided with how much everything is going to cost?
So based on those 2 months, we can spot a pattern of his spending habits. First is that there have been significant unanticipated one-off expenses like the wine tasting event and the family trip overseas, which are outside of the budget and unplanned for. There's also excess discretionary spending on sites like Amazon, eBay, and home improvements without really any spending limits. And Mark is also having difficulty budgeting for lump sum annual costs like car insurance, which cost him $800, or annual credit card fees of $600, home insurance of $1,500, utilities and propane gas, which total about $4,000 per year. This is all based on my discussion with Mark to get a better understanding of his costs throughout the year that he sometimes had to pay lump sum for in a given month. With both months in the negative, Mark is dangerously close to falling into debt again without any cash reserves. If he can't pay off his credit card in full next month, he'll face a 20% interest rate that compounds daily, and another emergency would push him further into debt with a larger portion of his income going towards servicing that debt. And this would be in addition to his existing balance of $37,000 that he has in personal debt. This cycle means that he will continue to lack an emergency fund, be unable to save for retirement, and have negligible college funds for his kids. Master budget and calculating savings. Now it's the time to create a master budget to strive towards every month and calculate a realistic savings rate going forward. For income, his average income over the 2 months is around $9,700, combining base salary, overtime, per diems from work, and work benefits. However, Mark has told me that during the summer months, he tends to work a little bit more overtime because it's peak season. So a more realistic average income to strive for throughout the year is about $8,500 per month, including a base salary of $5,000, $2,500 from overtime shifts, and $1,000 from childcare benefits and work benefits. The reality is minimum $8,500 is required to make progress on Mark's savings rate, because total income of $7,500 would just barely cover the costs, and any income below $7,500 would result in a deficit monthly based on the expenses that we'll be discussing. Luckily, Mark has the flexibility to work as many overtime shifts as he wants, giving him the option to boost his income whenever he chooses. Now, moving on to his expenses, we're going to be splitting this into 2 categories, which are fixed expenses that he has no real control over, and then the discretionary spending. So working with fixed expenses, he has around $4,400 per month, which includes $1,150 that are going towards debt repayments and $2,700 that are going towards the mortgage, as well as home insurance, hydro, internet, and life insurance. So those are the fixed expenses. Now moving on to discretionary spending, this leaves around $4,100 left, and all the $4,100 we will now be working backwards and allocating allocating $1,000 towards forced savings, which leaves now $3,100 for the rest of his discretionary spending. First category is his transportation, and Mark has told me he spends about $825 for gas insurance on the 2 cars on a monthly basis. Under the general household category, about $1,333 goes towards groceries, miscellaneous household items, propane heating, and miscellaneous home improvement. The next category is the luxury category. So this includes eating out and shopping, which has been set to about $255 for eating out and Amazon shopping, just so that Mark doesn't feel so deprived, but at the same time, it's not excessive. Moving on to personal care, about $200 is set aside for medication and personal hygiene, about $200 towards subscriptions such as his phone, his credit card annual fee, bank fees, Prime, etc. And for his children specifically, about $300 per month, in which about $100 is going towards his RESP contributions, which are the kids' college fund. And the remaining budget is related to school supplies, extracurricular activities, school trips, etc. And of course, if at any point Mark is over budget, the first area to cut back on is luxury, so eating out and shopping.
When it comes to the master budget, this is the exercise that we've done where we would set total income of $8,500 and then allocate that based on his various expenses. Of the $8,500, $7,500 is going to come from his base salary plus overtime plus work benefits, and $1,000 from other income such as childcare benefits. And then we're going to be putting $1,000 of forced savings aside, and then obviously making payments for his fixed costs like his loan payments, and then his housing such as his mortgage, home insurance, hydro, internet, life insurance, etc. Now all the other areas are going to be discretionary spending. So transportation, $825, household items, $1,333. This includes groceries, household supplies, utilities, etc. Eating out and shopping, now I would consider this to be the luxury category. So if at any time you are over budget, this is the first category to cut down. But we did put aside some money here just so that Mark doesn't feel so suffocated with all his spending, and that there's something to look forward to every single month. And with that, it's about $200 towards eating out, $55 towards some miscellaneous shopping on Amazon. Moving on, for personal care, we've set aside about $50 for personal hygiene and then $150 for pharmacy costs. He said he does incur some prescription medication that he needs to pay every single month. And then for subscriptions, it's a combination of, Amazon Prime, his phone bills, his bank and credit card fees, etc. And the last category here is towards his children. So about $300 per month, where $100 is going towards RESP for his 2 kids. And then the remaining amounts are more monthly budgets set aside for annual costs that incur. So about $200 towards school supplies, extracurricular activities, school trips, etc. So that's how this template works when it comes to the master budget. And going forward, you will be able to see how much he's over budget, under budget based on the actual and then the budget itself. So the difference here is quite clear. And you can see the monthly breakdown in the monthly overview tab.
Even with a 6-figure salary, money is tight due to high fixed monthly payments related to debt, which is costing him about $1,150 every single month. Can you imagine what you can do with an extra $1,150 towards your savings, investments, or your kids' college? Based on this, it's crucial for Mark to, 1, do everything he can to not go into any further debt, as this would strain his current finances, and 2, prioritize paying off the personal debt of $3,700 before moving on to any of his other money goals. Steps to stop living paycheck to paycheck. The first suggestion is to increase the overall household income. And the thing is, Mark is already working overtime shifts, and there's a limit to how much more that he can work. So in addition to Mark working overtime, maybe his wife can take on a part-time side hustle at work based on her experience or schooling, or they could even consider house hacking by renting out a room or doing Airbnb because they are homeowners. Another suggestion would be to reduce the expenses. So being very strict with discretionary spending by sticking to the budget and understanding that it's necessary to make sacrifices until debt is paid off. All luxury spending such as eating out and family vacations should be on hold until the debt is taken care of. And in the meantime, while Mark and his family increases his income and reduces his expenses, he should strive towards saving a minimum of $1,000 per month consistently. And this goal would range from a minimum of $1,000 up to $2,000 per month based on slow or peak season at work. And it's very important for Mark to schedule a date in his calendar at the beginning of every month to budget by comparing the actual versus budgeted expenses of the previous month and reflect on what's going well and what's not, and then making adjustments in spending for the upcoming month. It's also important for Mark to create good financial habits and to eliminate the poor money habits, which we will be discussing more in a bit more detail later in this video. Smart money goals. Now, there is a minimum savings goal for Mark of $1,000 per month. So let's prioritize how to allocate this. Mark's financial goals are to build savings, prepare for retirement, and set up education funds for his children. Before Mark can jump into those money goals, the very first step is to save for an emergency fund. And as a head of household, Mark should prioritize to save at least 1 month of expenses, so about $6,000 for the necessary expenses, as an emergency fund. And at a $1,000 savings rate, it will take about 6 months. We're going to be a bit more aggressive and serious about this, and Mark is willing to work more overtime during the peak season over the summer. He can aim to save about $2,000 per month, which means that he will be able to come up with that $6,000 emergency fund in 3 months' time. Once he is able to do that, then we can move on to step 2, which is the debt repayment. At the current rate of repayment of about $840 towards the principal and the remaining about $310 going towards interest, it's going to take about 3.7 years to pay off the debt balance of $3,700. The aim would be to cut down the time to 1.6 years by saving an additional $1,160 and contributing all towards the debt balance every single month. The faster the principal is paid, the less interest at 10% will be paid, and sooner that Mark can prioritize other money goals for his kids and retirement. Step 3, fully funded emergency fund. After paying off the debt, now Mark can prioritize building a fully funded emergency fund of 3 to 6 months. If Mark aims for 3 months minimum, he would need another $12,000 saved. And this would be on top of his existing $6,000 in step 1, which is about to take about 6 months at a savings rate of $2,000 per month. This is a reasonable savings rate considering that Mark's savings rate will be accelerated as he no longer needs to make the debt payments of $1,150 per month. Mark would essentially just need to come up with another $850 in savings per month. The above 3 steps are expected to take Mark anywhere from 2 to 3 years to achieve. This means that Mark will be in his early to mid 40s once he is clear of his debt. And this is only if Mark is super focused and disciplined. Once the foundations are built of being debt free, other than the mortgage, and having a fully funded emergency fund, Mark can now finally focus on his other money goals like contributing to the kids' college fund and his retirement savings. In a nutshell, let's go over what the big picture items are in Mark's money goals. The step 1 would be to build the emergency fund of $6,000, which will cover at least 1 month. Step 2 would be to pay off the debt of $37,000. Step 3 would be to fully fund an emergency fund, so saving up an additional $12,000. And then once those 3 steps are completed, then he can move towards step 4, which is investing about 15% of his income towards retirement, which is about $1,400 per month. He will also start saving towards his kid's college fund. The older kid, he would need to put around $550 per month in order to achieve $20,000 contribution in the RESP. And also, he would start saving for the younger kids' college fund, which is about $150 per month, in order to contribute about $20,000 in the younger kids' RESP account. Once the kids go off to college and he no longer needs to contribute to the kids' college fund, the next step, step 5, would be to start paying off the home. At the current moment, his mortgage is around $344,000. And obviously, as he pays off this mortgage, it's going to be a smaller amount. But this is just an overall picture of what his mortgage balance is and what he aims to pay off in order for him to fully retire. And the last step, step 6, build towards a fully funded retirement fund. So increasing his contributions towards a nest egg of $430,000. Now, in order to achieve these financial goals, you might think that you need to be super disciplined all the time and deprive yourself of all of life's pleasures. And this can feel like you're constantly swimming against the tide and you're just moments away from being swept away if you lose focus. This is an exhausting way to live. So instead, I propose addressing the root cause of your financial instability, your money habits. By building good habits and eliminating bad ones, you could put yourself on autopilot to make sound financial decisions. Let's address the bad money habits that Mark has going for him. Eliminate bad money habits. So first one is that he has multiple credit cards. I suggest narrowing down to 1, maximum 2 credit cards, because having multiple credit cards make tracking your spending harder and it increases the risk of accumulating more debt. So unless you are completely debt free and your finances are in order, I would avoid having multiple credit cards. Another bad money habit is doing credit card churning. So buying a gift card for points doesn't really make sense when you're in debt, and it encourages further spending for minimal rewards. So focus on debt repayment instead and forget about all the fancy credit card churning strategies out there. Now, a sensitive topic might be helping family members. While family is important and should be prioritized, financially supporting both immediate and extended family on a single income can stretch you too thin. Be financially stable first. Think of it as putting on your own oxygen mask before helping others. And if you feel obligated to help, plan and budget clearly first and ask yourself the following questions. Can other family members contribute? Can you help in non-financial ways, such as referring business to your family member who is having trouble or even researching certain business grants? Can you help with less money? So instead of going all out, maybe setting a budget for events and even getting creative with cost-saving measures. Another bad money habit is having no structure for discretionary spending. Unnecessary spending on non-essentials can really derail your budget. So create spending schedules that make it easier on you, such as going for grocery shoppings on Sundays only and not throughout the week where it's hard to track how much you're spending. And maybe setting a day once per week to go out to eat, like on Fridays, and you can look forward to it every week. Also, another tip is to remove triggers like canceling your Amazon subscriptions. That way you're not inclined to go on Amazon all the time and see what you can buy. And also avoid going to certain stores like Home Depot so that you could avoid purchasing home improvement items that you don't necessarily need. In the meantime, it's very important to stick to a budget and to make sacrifices until all debt is paid off. Another bad habit is having too many financial priorities. Avoid having too many financial priorities at once, like trying to pay off debt and also save up for emergency fund and also save up for your kids' college fund and your retirement all at the same time. This was what Mark was doing. He was doing these pre-authorized payments of $50 towards his retirement, $50 towards emergency fund, $100 towards his kids' RESP, but at the same time, he would put towards the money, and whenever he needs the cash, he would take the money out. And it's creating a lot of confusion with little bits of money going everywhere and not making much progress. So instead of doing these pre-authorized payments, I would suggest is to focus on one goal at a time, especially as you build those solid money habits. Another bad money habit is financial yo-yo. So achieving financial stability does require establishing and maintaining good habits. Going back to the example of maintaining a healthy weight, it's a lifestyle change in establishing and maintaining healthy habits. If you go back to your old habits, you will experience yo-yo and gain back all the weight. Similarly to personal finance, if you finally paid off $30,000 in debt, it's so easy to fall back into debt if you're not careful with where you are spending your money. And the fact of the matter is, people know that they need to spend less to save more, but they struggle with implementing this consistently. That's why it's important to work on establishing good money habits so that you don't experience a financial yo-yo. Mark's financial situation is not unique and is actually quite common among many Canadians. Despite earning a six-figure salary, Mark is struggling due to a mix of financial commitments to his family members, bad money habits, and unclear financial priorities. Through this budget breakdown, I hope Mark now has a clear understanding of his spending patterns, set boundaries for discretionary spending, and work on developing positive money habits to achieve his financial goals. I'll be touching base with Mark in a few months to keep him accountable on his financial journey. So leave words of encouragement for Mark down in the comment section below. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content on achieving financial freedom. And if you want to be featured in the budget breakdown series, check out the link in the description box below to participate in the next round. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!